Hey everybody, this is just a quick tutorial on if statements in Kotlin. I've already created a demo app here that I've loaded into the emulator so you can see it. It has a check name button, an input name field, and a display result field. So over here in the code, I've already hooked up this check button on click method here with the button's on click listener. So whenever you click this button, this function will run, and inside of this function we use the input name field, which is our text field here where you can input a name, and we use we capture the text property of that field and we put it into this variable text entered. So now this is the syntax for our if statement. So for if statements in Kotlin, you just write if. You have a like a Boolean expression here, and if this Boolean expression evaluates to true, it'll run the code within these two curly braces. So let's use our text entered variable here. So let's say if the text entered is equal to the name Carl. So if the text we entered in this text field over here is equal to Carl, then we're going to change the text for display result label. We're going to access that text property, and we're going to change it to congratulations, it's a Carl. So if the text we enter in this input name field is equal to Carl, we are going to change our display result label over here to congratulations, it's a Carl. So I'm going to hit the stop button to stop running our current version of the app, and then hit the play button to run our new version with the updated if statement. And let's see if it works. So here's our new updated version of the app. I'm going to type in the name Carl, and let's check the name. And yes, it switches to congratulations, it's a Carl. So if we change the name to something else like Theodore, and we check it, well, nothing happens. So let's change that. Let's make this app a little bit more robust. So we have our if here, and with a lot of ifs, you're going to want an else as well. So when this if condition evaluates to true, we do this thing right here. If this if condition evaluates to false, then we'll execute the else. And so for the else, let's access display result label text and set that text equal to oh no, it's not a Carl. Okay, and I'll hit stop here, and we'll run this app. So we have here, if the text entered is equal to Carl, we will say congratulations, it's a Carl. If it's not, then we'll say oh no, it's not a Carl. So first, let's type in Carl and see if our previous functionality still works. And it does. So now let's switch the name to something else. So let's switch it to Carlos. And we'll check the name. And yeah, we hit our else statement. It says, oh no, it's not a Carl. So these are the two primary ways to use an if statement, an if else. And there is another one that is frequently used, and I'll load it up now. So if we wanted another condition that was similar to an if but related to the if, we can use an else if. So this is sort of like the third condition for an if statement. So in here, we can access our text entered field, and we'll say if it's entered to, or if it's equal to, let's say Pete. So if it's equal to Pete, we're going to go display results label dot text is equal to we'll say congratulations, it's a Pete, because that's creative. So I'll hit stop to stop this version of the app, and I'll hit play to load up the new version of our code onto the emulator, and let's see if this works. So I'm going to enter Carl to see if our previous functionality works. It does. I'll enter, let's see, Carlos to see if this also works. Yes, that works as well. And now I'll enter Pete. Yes, congratulations, it's a Pete. So these are the three sort of conditions you can use with an if statement. So just to recap what we covered, we have our if, an else if, and an else. So we start off with the if, and if the condition between these parentheses is true, then we execute the code between the curly braces. For our else if, we can only have an else if after an initial if. And if this condition is untrue, then we see if the else if's condition is true. If this code, or if this condition is true, then we execute the code between the curly braces. And we can have as many else ifs as we want. So we can say else if, text entered is equal to, I don't know, Tommy. Then we can execute some code here. And you can have as many else ifs as you want. If all of these are untrue, then we have our else. And else is kind of a catch-all. Else, nothing has to be true. No condition has to evaluate to true for an else. But you can only have an else if you have an initial if. So if all of these other conditions are untrue, if they're all false, then we execute the code between the curly braces of the else. And that is your basic if-else statement in Kotlin.